Hi, everybody. So after a few days hiatus, last time we learned was Thursday, so it's like ancient history, but we're going to dive right in. It happens to be that this particular chapter is pretty intense in terms of being very abstract, but it's on a fundamental level, it's understandable. One interesting tension in Chassidut is often in Chassidut, you'll see in Hasidic writings, they'll say things like, well, this is a Kabbalistic idea, so we can't talk about it. And you'll hear what we're going to do today. It sounds like Kabbalah, but they'll say, well, this is not really Kabbalah. So it's like a kind of if this isn't Kabbalah, what is? So, and I think that there really is a strong desire and focus on not speaking in overly technical terms or overly Kabbalistic terms, or overly theoretical terms. And I think I've often used an example of, let's say, someone who is a researcher in a university setting on just the theoretical level of something about how the body works, on the one hand, versus being a physician on the other hand. And a physician may not actually know as much about, on a sort of biochemical level or cellular level, how the body works theoretically. What he's doing, hopefully, is based upon theory, but it's practical. That's what's going on here. Whenever we talk about a Kabbalistic idea, we're only interested in it because of some type of practical implication in terms of, in this case, how to get rid of our feeling of being yesh, something, right? So that we can be truly humble, not in a fake sense, not in pious, humble person, right? But inside you hate people, right? But in an authentic sense, where you don't feel your yeshut, your substance. So in order to understand that better, we're trying to understand the attribute of Moshe, the attribute of Chokhmah, and that's symbolized by the Yud in Hashem's name, and the relationship between that and the world, right? Because the Yud, or Chokhmah, that Sphira, that very initial first step in divine creation, it is so subtle, it's hard to figure out exactly how it relates to, on one side, the material world. Something is so subtle, that divine light, how does it relate to this world, which is so concrete on the one hand, and on the other direction, going upwards, okay, to use a spatial image, how does that divine light relate to the essence of divinity? So that's sort of the tension of Chokhmah, that on the one hand is connected to the very transcendent, unknowable, ineffable, pure divinity. And on the other hand is connected to the material world of being finite, spatial, limited, concrete. That's the tension.
Thinking of like sperm and egg, something so small.
Oh my gosh! Did you cheat?
How it creates an entire beautiful human.
That's amazing. We're going to use exactly that analogy in this. You're going to see. Wow, Larry, you scored. You must have. That's even without a cup of coffee. I don't know. That's a miracle as far as I'm concerned. It's that hot. It's the secret of the hot chocolate. Vihine, chapter 22. Bivchinat hitkalut in nekuda diyud yishba shtei madrigot. So remember how we're going to try to understand how Chokhmah, or the Yud in Hashem's name, Yud He Vav He, the four-letter name of God, how that somehow bridges these two worlds, going up the transcendent, infinite divinity, and going down concrete, spatial, limited world. So the beginning of that analysis of that is that Yud actually has two aspects to it. Now, I'm going to right now cheat, because the next chapter, this is chapter 22. The next chapter, which is 23, will go into this, but I just want to show you right now because I'm just so excited. I'm like a little boy in a candy store of Torah. So I want to show you something. We'll talk more about this in the next chapter, but I printed it out today so I have it. So we're talking about a Yud. show it so the camera can see it. That's a yud. Everybody see the yud? That's the smallest letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And of course, because the idea is that the yud is called in Kabbalah nekudah, that dot, which represents that first seminal projection of the divine creative light going out towards the world. But why everybody here see the yud before, right? Then why am I doing this? That's because use my high-tech thing here. Okay, everybody see this? It's a little hard doing this backwards. Everybody see that little crown there? Okay, now watch this. Did you ever see what's down here?
Oh, that's what down there.
Yes, I have.
Another crown.
Yeah.
There are two from this little yud. There's a line that goes up and a line that goes down.
The calligrapher slipped.
No, he didn't slip.
No.
The ink spilled. No. Yeah, that was good. You are so demonic. So, okay, everybody see that? Now that's going to be highly significant, and I'm just going to allude to it right now. Remember, we're talking about what is the trick of the yud? That it somehow is relating to two different aspects of reality. The infinite, transcendent, unknowable, ineffable, pure divinity. The yud connected above. And concrete world, finitude, the line going down. So we'll talk more about that later. But isn't that amazing how this is, we talked about this in the past. As a matter of fact, in halacha, we talked about this, how the way everything comes together. After our davening, we always spend 5 minutes learning a halacha after minyan. Isn't that true, Larry? Levi?
You pay attention.
Say yes.
Say yes.
Of course.
Oh, of course. When you give a
Yeah.
drop, when you give a drop.
Oh my gosh.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think he's still
Okay.
davening.
Oh, I'm on the same planet.
I was thinking beside.
Are we on the same planet?
I was thinking
Okay. In any case, so you got to be scared there.
give a drop.
Yeah, I call it a davar halacha.
Wow.
A davar halacha. So remember we talked about last week about can you daven in a language that's not Hebrew? Okay. So we pointed out then that the answer happens to be more or less yes. Okay, if necessary. However, the difference between Hebrew and other languages is that other languages, their only function is to communicate. So like for instance, let's say, I know this happens to Zev sometimes. He wakes up in the morning and he says, I'm going to daven in Italian. It's just the spirit moves him. He saw an Italian movie the night before. He decided he's going to daven in Italian. Okay? So now the problem is, unless there's something about Zev I don't know, he doesn't really know Italian. So it doesn't work because since the only efficacy or the only purpose of other languages is to communicate. So therefore, if you're saying, I don't know Italian, but whatever. So if you're saying something in Italian, a line, you just read it, right? But you don't know what you're saying. So that you didn't do anything. Okay. But so therefore you could daven in English or Chinese for that matter, as long as you understand it. But you could actually daven in Hebrew without understanding a word. Why? Because Hebrew has two aspects. There's the practical aspect of Hebrew, that is, it's a language, it's used to communicate, but also has an intrinsic holiness. It's not arbitrary. It's not just like a code that people made up that you can communicate, right? If I came in here, we made up code. Okay, from now on, when I say, give me an egg cream, please, that's a secret code. Okay, everybody do 10 jumping jacks, right? That's so when I say that. Okay, so now we know I have a secret agreement between us. That's arbitrary. Give me egg cream, please could mean take a deep breath, or it actually could mean give me an egg cream, please. I'm in New York and I'm ordering something to drink,
Or in the South.
right? Or they have that egg creams in the
Yeah, we
South.
do.
Wow. Okay. So in any case, but that's not true with Hebrew. Hebrew has this extra dimension that it's not just an arbitrary code to communicate. It actually, each letter is a vessel for containing divine lights that works independent of any kind of cognitive understanding of the word. That's why even if you don't understand a word of Hebrew, but you just say the words, right? That it actually acts as vessels to receive the divine light, even if you don't know one word what you're saying. So that's an amazing thing. So that's what I'm trying to communicate here with the yud. The fact that the letter T, to make example in English, is a T, right? Whatever. So that's arbitrary. It got made up. The fact that this is a yud is not made up, because look at how the yud, even the subtlest things, the way it's even shaped, is indicative and demonstrative of deep Kabbalistic secrets of how the yud, which represents the first creative emanation of divine light going towards the world, because of its function, is actually bridging up and down. It's bridging the infinite with the finite, and therefore the line up and the line down. Okay, now let's go back inside. So that's exactly what he's saying here. In that revelation of the dot, which is of a yud, there are two levels. So now we're going to describe the up and the down, the two levels. Ha'echad, the first level is where that dot is in a state of great hiddenness in and of itself. You see, that dot, that yud, where is it coming from? Looking up to it from its source. It's coming from the ultimate realm of hiddenness. We could even use perhaps a capital H, the divine hiddenness. The divine hiddenness. It's coming from the realm of divine hiddenness. So that's the first aspect of that the dot has within it, that profound divine hiddenness. And that is reflected by the fact that the yud doesn't really have much dimensionality to it, just physically, right? There ain't much breadth and width. Thank you. There ain't much breadth and width in the yud that would make it sort of accessible to those who are on the receiving end of the yud, looking downwards, right? It's in a state of hiddenness and transcendence. Now he's going to use an intellectual idea as kind of a mashal or a metaphor to try to demonstrate this idea, and that is that the revelation of the yud, that dot, is like a lightning flash in the brain of a thinker. Okay, so let's say we're all thinkers here, and there's a lightning flash of a thought or an insight. But it's not yet expressed in a way which is fully graspable in letters or in linguistic terms. See, this is genius. This is called genius. What happens, and everybody here has experienced this, like there's a question or you're thinking about something and you feel it somewhere inside you, but you cannot express it. It's beyond expression. It's higher than expression. You even in your own brain, it's almost like a feeling, but it's not really a feeling. It's actually an intellectual concept, but it's pre-linguistic. That's the hiddenness of the yud. So, okay. You see this in our own experience, that you'll have this like, I know the answer, but I cannot express it. All the Albert Einsteins in this room, we get this like flash, this mavrik, this lightning flash, but it is so deep, right? It's novel, but but I can't explain it to anybody else at this point. Where it can be grasped in a normal cognitive intellectual way. Even though in my own heart, even though I don't like the word heart because it's heart we usually associate with emotion, But I just use heart in the sense of trying to convey this idea that it's not fully cognitive, it's not fully fleshed out. So it's kind of like an intellectual feeling or an emotional intellect or something. I don't know how to express it exactly. And even in one's own mind, it's not been fully fleshed out and expressed in intellectual terms, but rather it's sort of hovering. So rather, it's sort of like a lightning flash alone. It's not yet pictured and imagined and limited in one's own mind in the sense of being a defined, limited image. But for ourselves, it's something. It exists. I know it. I know the answer. I feel the truth of this. I just can't limit it and put it into the straitjacket of language yet, even for myself. But it's still very substantial. Something can be very real. Just to use a bad example, this is just this is not an example, it's a metaphor. If let's say I don't know, actually, how about sight? A blind person, never seen before. He says, what does a sunset look like? Tell me in words. We all know what a sunset looks like.
How do you explain to a blind person?
But how are you going to explain it to a blind person? It's the same thing here. You could actually know the reality of something, but it has not yet descended into the level of definition. But ulatzmo must speak. But for ourselves, it's very real and substantial. I know what a sunset looks like, feels like, the reality of it, right? So there can be also just like that an idea, and for me, it's very substantial, and real. It just has not been put into this limited form. This is called revelation when it comes to me. In my own heart and mind, it's a revelation coming from above. But regards to somebody else, the blind person, it's not yet in a form which can be revealed. Until it comes into the level of some kind of limited letter, spatial, defined form. Okay, we'll have to pause here. Okay, we'll pause there and we'll go on to tomorrow. Okay, shkoach, everybody, shkoach.
See you tomorrow morning.
See you tomorrow morning, bright and early.